Hello, Bluffsview Bears. This is Mr. Wilson. I'm the PE teacher at Bluffsview, and I'm one of the teachers who does car pickup at Bluffsview Elementary. So I'm going to try to use Legos and this printout of a satellite image of the car pickup sort of situation here. Over here would be the school over this way. So when you're coming around the back parking lot, the first 5 cars that get here can pull up to the 5 spots that we use for car pickup. This is where the students line up over here, and we have numbers painted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the concrete. You just can't see them in this picture. There's a nice yellow line that students are supposed to stay behind as well. You can see over here we have 3 lanes, and they're divided by a bright yellow line. So there's a lane here, the second lane, and then a third lane as well. Okay, so when these 5 cars, whenever those first 5 people arrive, that's great. We would then ask for the next group to begin pulling up as they're coming around, and they're gonna fill that first outside lane. And there's gonna be 5 cars that will fit in here, typically, unless we have really long cars. But there will be 5 that will fit in there. At this point, if you are the next car that comes around the corner, you come around and you see that that white line right here is filled, that first lane meets to that white line, then we would ask that you would fill in the second lane, and there's a line right up here as well, okay, that we would then begin filling in this second lane in through here. Okay, I did that wrong. Let me move that over. Sorry. There we go. So 3 cars. 4 cars. There's 3. We could get a few more in there. There's 4. So we're filling those up next. And then you can see the next lane is going to be filled after that. So we're going to begin filling those up. Essentially, the idea here is that we are taking cars off of Linworth Road, and we're getting them into the back parking lot. So we fill these 5, and then we have 5 more in this lane, lane 1, 5 more in lane 2, 5 more in lane 3. So as you're coming around, we want you to fill in those lanes. We're at this point where we filled in all 3 lanes, as I was mentioning. And this is all happening, by the way, I mean, people start lining up out here very early, 2 o'clock, all right? So this is all happening before students are even out here as people are lining up, okay? So, or as are coming to get their children before 2:20 or 2:25. Just a side note about that. So at this point, other cars now are gonna begin coming around and we want them to line up all around the lane 1 perimeter. So at this point, no more cars should be lining up behind these 2 lanes. At this point, once we fill 5 here, 5 in lane 2, 5 in lane 3, now all the vehicles all the way out to the road are going to be lining up all the way. Hopefully we get them all off of the road, if that makes sense. So at this point, when students are coming out, we're calling their names, and we say, Smith, you're at number 1, and we're telling the students what number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to go through. Every once in a while we'll use a 6, even though there's not one painted. Then these cars, after all 5 are loaded in, the students are loaded in, these 5 will drive away and exit, and then these next 5 in this lane are now going to begin coming up, and they will come up to get their children. And we will be telling the students who are standing over here, hey, you're going to, spot 1 through 5 or whatever it might be. Okay, at this point, these vehicles here can go ahead and begin coming up to here. Now, obviously, we're not going to let these vehicles go until we have allowed lanes 2 and lanes 3 to pick up their children, since they were here first, if that makes sense. So we do 5 at a time, you drive off, we let the next 5 from over here come on around, okay? Hopefully that makes sense, and once you do it once or twice, you kind of get the hang of it, and it can really help us if you have a sign as you're coming around here, if you can hold up that sign with your child's last name, then we can see that last name in the dashboard, and we can call them out and have them ready to make this more efficient. Okay, something else that we just thought of that should be added. As cars are pulling away, okay, these 5 pull away, and these new cars are coming in, it should be noted that, let's say lane 2 now comes up, and they're all coming up to 1 through 5 and getting to their spots. No other cars should be coming behind them at this point. You know, if a vehicle comes around back here, you're ditching all the people who have been waiting. All right, nobody likes that, of course. So at this point, we've got our row 2 people have now come over, and it's important that that lane stays empty. And then after those 5 move away, then we will call up the next 5, which would be row 3, and row 3 would come up. Again, leaving those blank. By this time, we've got enough cars off of Linworth Road that are all lined up on our property here around the perimeter of lane 1. So we did the first 5, we did the second 5, third 5, fourth 5, and now we're just gonna work on that outside line, and they're just gonna work their way around 5 at a time. All right, a few nuts and bolts and little tidbits to consider. If you can, please practice with your child having them get in the vehicle and buckle themselves in nice and quickly so that you can drive away, okay? You can hug and kiss when you get home and all that kind of stuff, all right? Other things, if for some reason you need to go into the school and you park out here, let's say in the parking lot somewhere, we ask that you don't call your children over or have them, you know, running in between cars or anything like that. We would ask that you would come over and walk over to get them or enter the building or whatever the case might be, okay? Every once in a while, you know, parents will walk and they might end up coming over into this area to get their child as the children are exiting this building here or this door over here, and that's totally fine. We just want to make sure that students are safe and not running out into the parking lot in between cars or anything like that. Also, a little patience, folks. Every once in a while we'll have maybe a vehicle back in here and it's waiting, and there's some slower folks who are having a hard time getting their child into their vehicle. Maybe they've got a instrument or something, a project that they're carrying, and we get a car that gets impatient and starts zipping around people, and you know, obviously can lead to accidents or injuries. We want everybody to be safe.